everybody and welcome to the Flute Practice. Today we're going to look at a topic that I think is very often debated in the flute world, and that is how far should your fingers be from the keys? Now, this is a question you are going to get many different answers for depending on who you ask. I'm just going to give you my journey, my experience with this, and my own personal advice. As usual, try it out and see what works for you. So how I'm going to approach this is I'm going to basically take you guys through my own personal journey, because I think this helps kind of explain where and how I got to this point. When I started playing flute, I was definitely in the camp that was really slapping my fingers down on the keys much too much. And my teacher at the time, we had to work a lot on really getting my fingers to only move as much as they really needed to move. So to control the movement and bring them a little bit closer to the keys. This kind of got me to a point where my fingers were moving pretty fast, pretty, efficiently, pretty well. And as my technique improved and everything improved, this certainly served me very well. But I had a problem, especially in performance, where often I'd have this feeling that my fingers were kind of out of control, or I'd be playing really fast passages that in the practice room I played without a problem, without an issue, and suddenly in a concert or a performance it just wouldn't work. And I'm sure we can all relate to this feeling so much. And it was only then when I did some work with another teacher overseas and a physio who was also a flute player, which was amazing, that I kind of found a solution to this problem that really worked for me. And as it turned out, as these things are, when I spoke to my previous teacher about it, she's like, absolutely, this is kind of what I've been trying to tell you this whole time. So I think it's an interesting thing that sometimes we just need to hear this from somebody else. And I think often these two sides of the argument are kind of like pitted against each other, too close to the keys versus far away from the keys. But actually they're kind of two sides of the same coin. And it's finding that middle sweet spot. So yes, we don't want to smack our fingers down from dizzying heights. But that being said, there comes a point where our fingers are actually too close to the keys, where we are doing this kind of tiny movements like this, which seems to be very efficient, right? Very small movements. But if you do this, if you just move your fingers very gently and very calmly like this, very small movements, and then just let them freely move, you'll see freely moving means they actually do move a tiny bit more. This actually is already associated with tension. And so what I realized was when I was in that concert situation and I was trying to keep my fingers really close to the keys, I was actually adding even more tension to my existing kind of anxiety and tension about playing. So what I did, and this was a technique that, my teacher at the time in Austria was like, you need to, move your fingers a bit more. You need to give your fingers more energy. And I think that's the key word, energy. Don't think about like smacking your flute. Think about giving your fingers a bit more energy. And particularly what the physio worked on with me, which was really awesome, and I think I've talked about this in one of my other videos, is rather think of this lifting feeling. Imagine not so much about the action of going down with your fingers, but think about the lifting action of your fingers once they come up again. That instead of thinking of putting the finger down, we're also thinking of that lifting up, that very quick releasing feeling. And she got me to do this really cool exercise. You just sort of flick your hand and then release it, and you feel how these muscles in that moment of the flick actually release and open up. And it's quite a freeing feeling, and that's the idea, to get freedom in the hand and not to be stuck and rigid in any one or the other. If you are unable to control your fingers to be a bit closer, you may have a problem. If you are unable to give your fingers energy, you also may have a problem. So what I realized was that when I was playing, I needed to sometimes actually give my fingers a little more energy. I needed to actually sometimes allow them, and I know I'm sounding like I'm contradicting myself here, but it's just because in my brain I had become so over-controlled here that I had to almost allow my fingers to sometimes just go and actually to smack a little bit more, not from dizzying heights and not with excessive force, but just allow them to really be free fingers. So my solution to this conundrum, how far should your fingers be away from the flute? I will say your fingers should be as far away from the flute or as close to the flute as free finger action allows. If your fingers are completely free over here, perfect. If your fingers are completely free with a bit more movement, perfect. What I do find is that when I'm playing a really tricky passage and I'm kind of like, okay, I don't want to mess this up. I find thinking more energy to my fingers, almost giving my fingers a little bit more active energy and allowing them just to go, 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 go. Sometimes it really helps override that little bit of tension, helps override that little bit of anxiety about that passage, and actually just makes it happen. So this for me was the solution to my problem. How do I, when I've practiced a piece so well, I know it incredibly well, and in the moment my fingers just don't want to do what I want them to do. The solution to me was add energy, give your fingers energy, and sometimes, and I kid you not, in your brain you just got to kind of think, I've got this, I can do this. Cool guys, that was just a little bit of my perspective on finger distance from the flute. I know there are millions of discussions in this, so please put your comments down below. I really encourage us to chat and talk and share ideas about this. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, you can hit the subscription button below. There's also a notification button that you might want to hit so you get all the latest videos as they come in. Until then everyone, happy practicing and see you next time.